Hello and welcome to the show. We start this week's BeamNG Drive Canyon Rally with the Cadillac DTS, but this is not just any old Cadillac. No, this has got a kind of replica engine from the Corvette ZR1. So there is a lot of power, plenty of speed and acceleration in this vehicle as we run up towards the crest that is turn 1. It's not as fast as the hill climb cars, no, but still gets up to some good speed. Unfortunately, a bit too heavier a landing punctured one of the front tyres. We spun, and as the car twisted, that snapped one of the wheels off, and then things went downhill very, very quickly. The wheels on this car are rather fragile. I will point that out. The wheels/tyres on this vehicle are quite fragile, and if you do things a little bit wrong, very easy for them to let go. And, you know, when they let go, you end up in, well, situations like that. Also, there is a lot of fire. I don't know why there is a lot of fire. I've put the best radiator possible on the vehicle. It's a high-performance drag racing radiator on this car. Still, it catches fire after about 2 corners. It doesn't affect the vehicle in any way other than visually, but, yeah. So, there are a couple of oddities with the vehicle. Nevertheless, things were going about as well as they ever do on this series. Carrying too much speed at a wonky angle across the bridge jump does not tend to end well. Equally, the anti-corner cutting rocks do not play nicely with the Cadillac. Yeah, you cannot get away with cutting that corner too much. If you try, you're going to end up in trouble. That's a number of cars, actually, that have rolled over at that corner. Another thing to look out for is puncturing one of the tyres on the big braking zone into this second corner. If you lock up the brakes for too long, or you get things a little bit mispositioned across the bumps, it can puncture the tyre, and then you're in all sorts of trouble because you're never going to stop for the corner. Also, I may have got a little bit of understeer at an inopportune moment, ended up climbing across the rock face. That meant I ate the front bumper, that got stuck under the car, and then we bent up some wheels and we lost steering, and well, there was a very, very big puff of fire from the car then when it all gave up. His next attempt, we made it down towards the high-speed section, and quite a lot of speed coming through here. Forgot about the nasty bump on the outside, and as we hit that, it was the landing from that, punctured one of the tyres. We veered off course, and when you're doing 110-ish miles an hour, you don't have time to recover that. Not in a car that's lost one of its front wheels and the others are about to go. You just can't recover from that. So we were once again upside down. You can see that the moment, in fact, on this run that the engine catches fire, I got stuck out a little bit wide. We got caught on the edge. The crash barrier kind of suckered the bumper and I couldn't pull my car away. However, it might be the most impressive of parks I have done in this series, managing to get it wedged on its side along the bridge. I mean, I'm quite proud of this one. I'm not sure if it's more impressive than the car flags, to be honest. Getting a vehicle stuck in that manner on the bridge. But yeah, there we go. The jump down here was causing a little bit of problems with the fragileness of this vehicle. If you didn't get it absolutely spot on, you were going to have trouble. There was no real leeway with this car on that landing. It was just often a big accident. Now, this was one of the other things to really watch out for. Lost the front left tyre when I went under braking, and then with just not stopping. I did brake a little bit late that time as well, which wasn't helping. But, yeah. I think it's if you clip the bumps. I'm not quite sure. I couldn't quite figure it out. But I think if you clip the bumps with the brakes all locked up, down towards that second corner, there is a high possibility of it puncturing a tyre, and then you just go straight. So, something to be very much on the lookout. Now, I had made it almost all the way to the finish line on this run, but I lose the back end of the car. I can't get it back together again. We clip a rock, we clip another rock. We do technically cross the finish line, in a manner of speaking, in a big fireball, and with a lot of the Cadillac quite badly broken, the engine completely ruined. So, yeah, I did want to go again and try and have a bit of a better finish. You will notice a slight weirdness going on with part of the engine bay, the kind of sort of the black engine bay thing that kind of falls out and hovers around. A little bit peculiar, but there we go. So, yeah, it took a bit of time. It took a bit of time to get a clean run with the Cadillac. You had to be quite careful, but you can see I love that the skid marks remain there. You can see where I had issues into that second corner. It's certainly very, very spectacular. You've got to make sure you don't do anything to bend up the wheels on this car, as that is, yeah, the most fragile area of the vehicle. This time I managed to get quite a bit further without the car catching fire. It was absolutely spot on across the bridge jump there. Absolutely perfect, with a lovely, lovely smooth landing. Most important part almost on this course. Now as we come through the pond hairpin, easy to get a bit of understeer if you try and jump on the throttle too soon. You will end up in the outside wall. The dirt section down here, we do finally catch fire on this run. Dirt section, not too bad, doesn't hold too many fears for the Cadillac. Again, you've got to be wary. I think on this run, actually, my bouncing around on the landing may have tweaked the steering ever so slightly. You see the car pulling a little bit to the left. You've got to be a little bit careful that it doesn't buckle wheels up. On the whole, yeah, there have been a lot worse cars across that part. And now we run down towards the faster corners on the track, up towards the 109, 110 mile an hour mark. But we are going to slow it down. Vicious bumps on the inside here. Horrendously vicious bumps on the inside, and I didn't feel like I could really attack them with the Cadillac. Although, once we are through there, provided we don't get a big moment of oversteer down here, we can get back on the power, and it's going to be a 98 miles an hour across the line for the DTS, with a lot of fire going on out the back of it. And when we almost managed to keep the front bumper on the entire way down. Normally that fell off with the bridge jump, but almost kept it the entire length of the course. A very, very fragile car, and that was something to really look out for, to really be careful with down here. It was an interesting challenge, I'll be honest, getting it down this course, and plenty of fire. Up next, we have got a classic Toyota Corolla. Quite a difference from the Cadillac. Now, this doesn't have a particularly crazy powerful engine. I have the fastest engine that I can have in the vehicle. I've also put it with the limited slip diff, because the standard diff in the car is awful, and the sportiest of suspensions that I could put on the vehicle, just to kind of try and stop it body rolling its way through the corners. It's not going to be the quickest up the hill, about 60 miles an hour as we crest it. We don't get a huge jump. Now, what did catch me out was the brakes. So, yeah, it might not have quite stopped as well as I was expecting. Considering we weren't going particularly fast, I thought, we can, and you know, it's a very light car, I thought we can get nice and late on the brakes. No, you can't. That was about 60 miles an hour we fell off the canyon at. That's a lot of speed, actually, to take too much over there. Really got to be nice and early on the brakes with this car. They are not the greatest. Equally, while ABS isn't on, you can actually go full on the brakes, and they don't seem to lock up. That's how weak they are. I think they are drum brakes all around on this car. Certainly the back is. I'm not quite sure on the front. And they do seem to work a little bit differently on this game. It is a real difficulty getting this car slowed down as we come into the tunnel hairpin. This time, not so much the brakes that were an issue. I got a tad too. I wasn't expecting oversteer. I just got a tad too much of it, and completely caught me out. And we went for a little bit of an explore. Certainly not the worst crash I've done on this car. I mean, the car's absolutely fine. I don't think it really did anything to it. It's just wasted me some time that is not so good for a run. It didn't really take too long with this vehicle. Once I'd figured out what I was doing with the brakes, it really wasn't a particularly hard car to drive. There's just not a huge amount of power in it to be going, or to be getting yourself into trouble with, provided you are aware about the brakes. It handles relatively well. I mean, we are up to 75 miles an hour as we jump on the brakes. This time, fully on the brakes will work to get the car slowed down into this second corner. And yeah, it's nice enough handling. It's sort of a car that I would enjoy, you know, just kind of driving about, messing about with. It's not going to set world record times down this road. It's got nowhere near the power. One of the issues I did foresee, not having enough speed coming off the bridge jump, that we might land a little bit early and not be able to get on the nice downward slant, but that was not the case. It just went quick enough. I think 60 miles an hour is about the minimum. If you're going any slower than that, you're going to hit the road before it starts going downhill, and that gives you a really awkward landing. At 60, you just about get away with that as we leave the pond hairpin. A little bit of understeer from the Corolla, Again, no real problems across the dirt, although I have got to be careful with it on that landing. You see it just bounced a little bit more to the left than I would have ideally liked. However, have got it all under control as we now come into the tunnel hairpin. We take a nice tight line because, well, you can really pick your lines with the car like this when there is just not a huge amount of speed going on in the vehicle as we now run down this fast section. Big oversteer moments from the Corolla. I do manage to gather it all back up in that, and the sliding about actually helped slow the car down so we could carry... Oh, I don't think I really had to go on the brakes into that section because it wheeled its way and lost its momentum as we now run around the final corner. Up towards the finish line we go. It is 77 miles an hour across the line from the Corolla. A solid enough car to drive, certainly. You could see survived the demands of the course, absolutely no problem. Suspension was more than up to the task, but it does help when the car isn't massively quick. There's just, yeah, not a huge amount of acceleration. I was surprised to see it getting up towards the 90 miles an hour as we came into that faster section. It is a nice downhill part, I will be honest there. I was trying to go for some celebratory donuts. Didn't really... It was sort of celebratory driving around in a circle at that point. Doesn't really have enough power to make that one work, but there we go. Our next vehicle, on the other hand, has more than enough power. This is the FR16, a Formula-inspired car that is a rather terrifying prospect for the Canyon Rally course. Now, this has got the speed, this has got the acceleration, and got the handling to challenge the leaders. The difficulty, of course, is that while, yes, this course is all tarmac, there are bumps, there are jumps, and there is even a little bit of a dirt section in here for a Formula car to manage with. And that is asking a lot of a vehicle like this. Things were going pretty well on the opening run as we come up towards the bridge jump. I didn't know at all what to expect. I kind of just went for a normal tactic like I would with any other vehicle. We land it lovely flat and level, but as you would expect from a car like this, it's not so happy. Everything kind of disintegrates, don't really have a chance of getting any control on that landing, and then we flip off the cliffside and splat we go down the canyon, losing both of the front wheels. The rear wheels did stubbornly click on to life in this. Not a fun time, really. The bridge jump is a pretty sizable jump for a Formula car to be managing with. As you can see, managed to slightly unhook part of the rear wing as we leave the pond hairpin, get some oversteer. It's initially actually just clipping the bumps on the outside that tear part of the rear wing. There we go, I'll get that word eventually. Part of that off the car, and then when we hit the main of the bumps, that just launches it to the side, and once more, we're going to be off at the bottom of the canyon with bits of car raining down on you. Now, this is by far the quickest car we've ever had up at the top of the hill there, but that means you've got to really figure out where you go on the brakes, and that was a bit too late. We can't really get airtime in the Formula car as you would expect, because, well, that's what happens. Even a small bit of airtime, that wasn't particularly big airtime, but it was enough to pull the front wing apart. That got stuck under the car ends up off the road, and bits end up broken. And it was very much a case of trying to find out what you could get away with. Now, I get across the bridge jump okay. I didn't realise there was a secondary bump there. With all of the vehicles that, of course, had to slow down enough to survive the bridge jump, you're never ever going fast enough for that secondary bump to be a problem, except for in a Formula 1 car. And also, amazingly, the engine survived this, and because the wheels were, well, one wheel was still just about in touch with the ground, it kind of moved. And then got it completely wedged. However, yeah, that was something that worked. So, yeah, caution was the aim of the game. I tried getting at the speed absolutely spot on. I mean, that was a perfect landing. I don't think I could really do that any better in this car. You know, it was a perfect speed match to land absolutely lovely on the downhill bit of road, but the shock still breaks stuff on the car, and you just lose downforce, you lose wheels, puncture tyres and so on, and that's very much game over. Also, trying to do a small steering movements with this got relatively, I say relatively twitchy steering, but yeah, you got to kind of do small, gentle movements when you're 150 miles an hour, and in me trying to do small, gentle movements, I didn't move it enough. We ended up on the grass, and as soon as I realised where I was, you can't pull the car off it fast enough, and there's bumps, and car is going to go catapulting its way around here. Not fun times for the FR16 there. I did, however, get a nice clean run out of the vehicle. We're up towards 125 miles an hour towards this crest, but got to really slow the car down. We can't take speed over there. We know the vehicle's going to fall apart. Again, huge acceleration down towards this next corner. Fantastic brakes on this car as well, and also incredible handling. You can really carry the speeds through the corners with this vehicle. I'm going to have to, if I'm going to get a quick run, because we've got to pretty much stop the car dead as we cross the bridge jump. Now, I did lose the end plate for the front wing, but that was it across there, so the most of it is intact, and it's not going to fall underneath the car and cause issues. If it's just pinged off the side, that we can deal with, as long as the front wing isn't weakened and isn't likely to go underneath the car. Again, we're carrying great speed around the pond hairpin, but we have to once more get on the brakes across that dirt section. Although once you are past it, it is flat out up towards 125 miles an hour once more. Very late on the brakes into the tunnel hairpin we go, and then the favourite section for the Formula car, even with a big moment of oversteer there as we put the power down. Now, just how fast can the FR16 get up to? It's 151 miles an hour before we get on the brakes. There is actually a big bump there that the car gets away with. I really thought I was going to be a goner when we got that much airtime. It's 100 miles an hour being held through these corners. We run up towards the finish line. It's 144 across the line. It would have made the turn as well, has it not got airborne just at the critical moment. There's just the tiniest of bumps there that we hit that lifted the car up in the air. Otherwise, we're going to have no problem making that turn. Hit the bump, lifted the car up. By the time we came back down, it was right on the edge of the road and on the grass, and then, well, you see the mess that we have lying before us. I also just noticed that the number on the steering wheel actually corresponds to what gear you're in, which is really cool. Lovely detail on this vehicle, and it kind of falls apart in a way that you would imagine a Formula 1 car would in these sort of accidents, in these sort of conditions. But yeah, it made it. I mean, it's a mess now, but it did make it down the Canyon Rally course in one piece. The big question was, would the acceleration that it can get in between the corners that no other car can really get up to, would that be enough to see it quicker than the hill climb cars? And the answer is yes. We have a new leader. The FR16 goes to the top of the table at 128.5. It is half a second quicker than the Sunburst. The V12 K Series moves down into third place. The SBR4 hill climb is now out of that top three. The incredible speed of the Formula car through the corners and acceleration down the straights is enough to still see it go fastest, even having to have huge brakes at the bridge jump and at the dirt section. You know, that lost a lot of time compared to the hill climb cars. It could still go fastest. The Cadillac DTS, I think, puts in a relatively respectable showing. Goes into 34th place, a 144.4. Plenty of power in the car. However, yeah, quite a fragile vehicle. So to be only 0.2 of a second down on the Rally Covet, 0.4 down on the Marauder, that's a good showing. You know, it beats the Crown Vic convincingly, the ETK 6000 series, the giant Dakar-style rally truck. That's a decent enough showing, I think. I mean, it's less than a second down on the Lancia 037. So, yeah, not bad time from the DTS. And then we find the Corolla, a 203.0 from the Toyota. I was expecting it to be perhaps a tad quicker down the course. I think it is just its lack of speed. Even the Pigeon can get up to a bit more speed than the Corolla could, and the brakes on the Corolla were very difficult. It's fun enough to drive, don't get me wrong, it's fun enough to drive, you can throw the car around and so on, but there's just not the speed on a course like this. As I said, it does beat the Pigeon by 1/10 of a second, but it is only 7/10 faster than the Bluebird bus. So, yeah, you get the idea of the struggles with the Corolla. However, that is going to be it for this video, guys. As ever, I'll put links to all the mods I've used in the description so you can download them, have a go with them yourself. But that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.